find f of negative 6, we take the function, take out all the n's, and replace them with negative 6's. Make sure when you do this, you use parentheses, and then you're just going to type this part into your calculator, or you can do it longhand, shorthand, however you want to do it. So negative 6 squared is 36. Negative 5 times negative 6 is positive 30. Add them together, and you get 66. So f of negative 6 equals 66. Final answer.
Do you want me to put the 36
No.
plus 30?
You do not have to have that middle step. All I need is the first and the last one.
Say, I'm going to do that.
If I were doing it, I wouldn't do it either. But I was just showing you how my mind did that on its own. Questions on this one? So hopefully fairly easy, just plug in the number, but make sure you use parentheses. Oh, I hit the wrong one. So if you don't use parentheses here and you just put negative 6 squared in your calculator, you will get the wrong answer because your calculator takes the 6 and squares it and brings the negative down. So it will give you negative 36 instead of positive. So don't do that. Make sure if you're plugging in a number, you put it in parentheses. Moving down to questions 2 and 3, we're going to perform the indicated operations. Make sure you're looking to see what operations you're supposed to be doing. So for question number 2, we're subtracting. So subtraction sign right there. So I'm going to write h of x first. So 5x to the third minus 2x. And we're subtracting all of h of x, so negative x minus 7. Since we have subtraction in the middle, we want to distribute that negative. So distribute, it's just going to change all the signs of everything that follows. So now I have a plus in the middle, plus x plus 7. So 5x to the third minus 2x plus x plus 7. What do you think we need to do? Yep, combine like terms in the middle. So we're going to combine the negative 2x and the positive x to get our final answer of 5x to the third minus x plus 7. Final answer. Questions on that one? So just a subtraction problem, watch out, distribute that negative before you combine like terms. Question number 3, here the operation is just a dot. A dot stands for multiplication. So we're going to multiply h of x times g of x. You can either FOIL these or box these. I would probably box them because it's the most organized. So when I box them, I'm going to take negative x minus 7. I'm just going to write it across the top. 5x to the third minus 2x on the side. Then we're just going to multiply corresponding boxes. You know the drill. Negative 5x to the fourth. Negative 35x to the third. 2x squared and 14x. The last thing we want to do is write our final answer. To write your final answer, remember you always start with the term that has the largest exponent. So negative 5x to the fourth, no like terms to go with it, so we're just bringing it down. Minus 35x to the third, again, no like terms, so we're just bringing it down. Positive 2x squared plus 14x. So in that entire box, there were no like terms. We just get to bring everything down as it is. So final answer is negative 5x to the fourth plus 35x to the third plus 2x squared plus 14x. Questions on that one? Am I going too fast? Okay. Moving to questions 4 and 5. We're asked to perform the indicated operations. We're given two new functions. So for question number 4, we're asked to take g plus h of 3. The first thing I would do is take g plus h. So we're going to take g plus h, that would be 3x plus 2, whoops, plus h, which is negative 2x squared minus 6. Since that's addition in the middle, I don't have to distribute the negative because there is no negative there. I can just go through and combine like terms. So negative 2x squared plus 3x minus 4. Once I have that simplified, now I need to do something with this 3. What do I do with that 3? Plug it in for the x, absolutely. So negative 2, and then in parentheses you want your 3 squared, plus 3 in parentheses you want 3, minus 4. Yep, I would type that exactly as it's written into my calculator to get your final answer. Tell me what you get. Negative 13 is the correct answer. So definitely my suggestion, combine g plus h first, simplify that completely, and then plug in the 3. Question number 5, we're asked to find h divided by g of 2. So I'm going to make a fraction. On top of that fraction, I want to write h, which is negative 2x squared minus 6. And then in the denominator, I want g, 3x plus 2. That's h divided by g. That part's already done. Now I have to do something with this negative 2 that's sitting out here. What am I doing with it? Plugging it in. So I'm going back, negative 2, whoops. And then in parentheses, I'm plugging in negative 2 squared minus 6. And then in the denominator, 3 times negative 2 plus 2. Now this one, my suggestion would be that you just type the top in all at once, and then you type the bottom in all at once. So type the top in exactly as it's written. Make sure you use those parentheses and tell me what you get.
I got negative 14 for the top and negative 4 for the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
And would you divide those together?
Well, you can, yeah. So my suggestion would be to either reduce these or write it as a decimal. So you can write it as 7/2 or 3.5. Because remember, a negative divided by negative is positive, and then 14 and 4 are both divisible by 2. So either one of those answers would be perfect. I don't think I told you, but both of these questions are worth 3 points. So 12 points on that first page. Everybody's getting all 12 points, right? Sure, you sound so confident today. Did you say maybe? Oh, it's great.
You know I don't do well on the test.
You do?
Sit here and do it all day long.
Well, then I'm not going to tell you it's a test. I'm like, do this review.
That don't work. Don't work. I've tried it. I've even told myself, okay, you can retake it.
It's true. You can. What were you going to ask?
What do you divide to get the 7/2?
So both of these are negatives, so I cancel the negatives out. And then I just divided both of these by 2 because they're both even. So 14 divided by 2 gives me 7. 4 divided by 2 gives me 2. You can,
Is it because of negative divided by negative is positive, right?
Yep. So I knew my answer had to be positive because it's a negative divided by negative. Your calculator will do it for you. Hold on, let me think. Oh, maybe it'll write it as a mixed number though.
Well, I could do -14 divided by -2, that could be +7, right?
Mhm. And then you'd have to take the bottom and divide it by -2 to give you the 2. Anything else before I move to the back side? All right. Moving to question number 6. We're given f of x and g of x. Notice the symbol on this problem is an open circle. Anytime you have an open circle, that's fancy substitution, a composition. You're taking this function and you're plugging it into that one. So we're taking this right here and we're plugging it in right there. So we would have, oops, that was terrible, 6. And then in parentheses, we're writing that whole g of x, which is 2x squared minus 5. And then the plus 14 comes down. What do I need to do to simplify this? Absolutely, distribute the 6 into the parentheses. So 6 times 2x squared is 12x squared. And 6 times -5 is -30. Bring the plus 14 down.
Is this the one we're trying to get the x by itself?
We just want to simplify as much as possible. So then all I need to do to simplify the rest of it, combine like terms. So 12x squared minus 16, final answer.
I was making that way too complicated.
Really? What were you trying to do?
Oh, I did all kinds of shit wrong.
Well, hopefully it'll be easier now.
I did asterisks and everything. I multiplied the 2 terms together.
Oh, gotcha.
I not multiplied them, I did set them equal. And then
Oh, yeah, you don't. No, so you're just taking one and plugging it into the other. If you get to a problem on your test and you don't know what to do, raise your hand and say, hey, how do I start this? It's fine. I'm not here to fail you. I'm not here to fail
She
you.
said, oh, I will.
Like, it is not my job to fail you.
I don't want to fail.
You're not going to fail.
Because you can be in our heads telling us that.
I am. You hear me? You're not going to
I
fail.
hear you, but I'm not listening. Because there's no telling what's gonna happen. Go away.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say.
What do you? I'm just kidding.
Nothing, I just want to say good morning, everyone.
Oh.
I actually have something for you.
Now that we're all watching you. It's just the review for the test today. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Are you gonna have all morning, or are they gonna have early?
They can leave as soon as they finish their test.
So I do have a question before you do hand us the test, and like, here you go. Could we do one more of these problems?
Of these?
Yes.
Let's see. Question number 7 is different than question number 6. How is it different? So look at both of them and tell me how they're different.
We have the
I'll try to find
one
it.
half x.
Don't worry about that. Look over here. Look at these. What are we asked to find? Here we're asked to find f of g of x. Here we're asked to find f of g of 6. Yeah, there's a number hanging out at the end, a constant hanging out at the end. What that means is there's kind of 2 different ways you can do this. You want me to show you both ways, or you want me to show you the way I think is the easiest? The easiest. So remember when we do these, we're taking this function and we're plugging it into that one. But this time we were given a 6. When we, hold on, let me scroll. The easiest way to do this is to take this 6 and just start plugging it in. So I would plug the 6 into G. So if I take the 6 and I plug it into G, so that would give me G. I don't know. So 6 times 8 is 48, minus 10 is 38. Agreed? So now, if I look back up here, I've taken care of the G and I've taken care of the 6. Now I need to find F of 38 because 38 is what I got when I evaluated G of 6. So I took the 6, plugged it into G, I got my answer, and now I'm going to take that answer and plug it into F. So F of 38 is 1/2 times 38 plus 9. Let's see, 1/2 times 38 is 19. 19 plus 9 is 28. Final answer. We could have done exactly what we did on the problem above, taken our answer and just plugged 6 into it. So you can find this first and then evaluate it at 6, but I think this way is easier. As long as you remember, you take the 6, you plug it into the letter that's beside it, take that answer and plug it into the first one. So we found G of 6, we got 38, then we took F and plugged in the 38. We didn't plug in the 6 twice, but I plugged it in once. Did you want to see it the other way, or is this good? Okay. Question number 8. Determine whether a relation is a function and explain your answer. What letter matters, the X or the Y?
X.
X. So look through your X's. Did we push any of the same buttons twice?
No.
No, automatically a function. Whoops. So this is a function. And you could just tell me no X values repeat. Or you could tell me nothing in the domain repeats. I wrote on my answer key that each input has a single output. So on your test, all you're going to look at first is your X's. If none of your X's repeat, it's automatically a function. I don't know if it does or not. But if you happen to have like a -1 and a -1, you have to check to see if they give you 2 different outputs. Remember, we're talking if I push the T button, I want a T every single time I push that button. I don't want it to give me a Diet Mountain Dew sometimes.
So if it had, like the one on the end, if that was a -1, it would still be a function.
Because I pushed the -1 and I got a 2 this time.
Okay.
If I push this as a -1, I got a 3. If this would be T and Diet Mountain Dew,
Okay.
I'm going to be sad. I would say the pop machine's not functioning correctly because it's not giving me the same thing every time I push that same button.
Okay.
So yeah, if that was a -1, it wouldn't be a function, but since it's positive, it is.
Now, if I just put no X values repeat, we still get the full credit for it, right?
Question number 9, find the inverse. Remember, to find our inverse, we start off by taking f of x out and replacing it with y. So step number 1, take that f of x out, replace it with y. Step number 2, we want to switch, invert the x and the y. So now we have x equals, in parentheses, y minus 11 to the 3rd power minus 4. Step number 3 is the one that could take multiple steps. We want to solve for y. In order to solve for y, I've got to get the parentheses with the exponent by itself. So I'm going to add 4 to both sides. When I add 4 to both sides, I have this. And then what do I have to do to get rid of that exponent of a 3?
It's a -11, right?
Whoops, you're right. Thank you.
See, that's what I had, or I was just on your stuff.
Well, don't let me do that. Good job, Tori. Way to question me.
You gotta do the square root to
I do the what root?
the square root.
The what root?
I don't know.
What exponent am I trying to get rid of?
The cube root.
3. That's
Three.
what I said, square to the 3rd. Do the square thing to the 3rd.
The cube root or the 3rd root. Because it's a 3. It's not a square root, it's a cube root. Obviously, I have to tell you. So on the right side, the cube root and the cube are going to cancel, leaving you with y minus 11. And then on the left side, we don't know what the cube root of x plus 4 is, so we're going to leave it as the cube root of x plus 4. One last thing to get y by itself, I need to add 11. When I add the 11, can I add 11 plus 4? No, the 4 is underneath the cube root. The 11 is going to hang out after it. And then remember, for your last step, you want to write f inverse of x, and it's going to equal your answer.
Okay, so instead of just writing the answer equals y, can I just do that f?
So if you wanted to jump up a step, instead of writing this y right here, is what she's asking, if she could just write the inverse there, that's fine. Questions on this one? I promise the next unit test is much easier than this one.
Oh, yeah.
It is, I promise. Promise.
You have 2 weeks and 2 days left.
I know.
So I don't see you.
No, you only have 2 weeks to the dot, unless you miss the final. So you better not be sick.
Could we get a break?
I'll come and done.
Is there a break? Or take a test outside?
Let's see, October, you get a whole week off.
Yay! At the end of the question.
So our final's scheduled for October 27th. If you come to class and take the final on the 27th, you don't have to come to class the 28th or 29th for me. So the 28th is scheduled for makeup times. The 29th is scheduled for me to get your grades in. And then you have the entire first week off in November. So technically you have a week and a half off because I'm letting you out early just in case you, heaven forbid, you get in a car wreck on the way here that Tuesday. I don't want to be like, hey, my grades are due at noon, sorry. Like that's why we take it on Tuesday instead of Thursday. Wednesday gives you time to make it up. Sometimes I've had students come in on Wednesday because after they take the final, they have a D minus.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to start out at Ivy Tech with a D minus. Anybody know what that does?
Look back.
It puts you on academic probation your first term. It'll affect your financial aid. You'll have to probably meet with advisors.
Yeah.
It's not fun. Nobody wants to start out with a first grade at Ivy Tech being a D minus.
Financial aid's why I
Yeah.
try everything to keep at least C.
Yep. So for your financial aid, we don't want to do that. So that's why Wednesday, like say you need to do test corrections on the first unit test, come in Wednesday and do it. I don't care. I have them all. If that's all we need to do, spend the whole day together. We can be friends.
Well, that's good to know, because I think I might retake the one that I got. Sure.
It's fine. And you don't have to retake it. All you have to do is correct what you did wrong. So if you did question 1 right the first time, why would I make you do it again?
I just have to do the ones that I.
Yeah, you just have to do the ones you got wrong.
Then I'll probably do that.
And that's fine. Like that's what Wednesday's reserved for. This is like, oh crap, something happened, or I need to make this improvement to increase my score. So like, it's for you.
That's the only bad one that happened.
Yeah, we can do that on Wednesday. So 2 weeks from tomorrow.
I'm gonna have a question.
Yes.
Back to your car wreck thing.
Back to my what?
Car wreck. What if like we get in a car wreck on the way to school Tuesday, but like we got in a coma, so like.
So you're going really
next week.
extenuating
So
circumstances.
could they come in next week, like the week after that?
No, because my grades are due that Thursday.
Also, that's dying, almost dying and stuff.
Well, if you want to,
Well-
you won't be going to Ivy Tech.
Sorry. She
You're
said,
almost dying, you're not going to Ivy Tech.
so that would be like an extenuating circumstance where like we could probably work around things and
She just said it'd be me in the coma.
No, I said not letting Michelle drive.
good. Drive safely, like you should every
Was
day.
she driving this morning? Yeah. She did good. And what I saw in her. She used her blinker.
She used her blinker. See, she's better than half of the people in Indiana.
I like using the turn signal.
I like using mine because the camera comes on and I can see what's beside me.
Oh, that's awesome.
When we bought the car, I was like, I'm never gonna use this. This is silly. And now I'm like glued to it. All right, let's move on. Question 10, find the inverse, again, following those same steps as before. switch your X and your Y. So first two steps, if you want to combine the first two steps and do it in one, that's fine. So in the past, I've had students switch the X and the Y while they take the F of X out. That's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine. It's kind of silly to write it twice, but let's see. Then we want to take this entire thing, and I'm moving it off to the side so I have a little bit more room. We're going to solve for Y. First thing we want to do is subtract the 6 from both sides to give us this. How do I get rid of that fifth root? Parentheses on both sides to what power? The fifth power. Am I going to take and make you find x minus 6 to the fifth power? That would mean you would have to box x minus 6 times x minus 6 times x minus 6 times x minus 6 times x minus 6 5 times. No. You're just going to leave it as x minus 6 in parentheses to the fifth power. And then what's left on the right side? Y minus 5. What do you need to do next? Add 5 to both sides. Can I combine the 5 and the negative 6? No, I'm going to have x minus 6 in parentheses to the fifth power. Then I'm just going to put plus 5 equals f inverse of x, since we just had y. So I cheated. Instead of writing y, I just went ahead and write the inverse. Again, saving myself another step. So technically, you could do this in 4 steps to be done.
Does it matter which side the f of x?
It's customary to put it on the left, but in this case, it was on the right and I just left it. I'm not going to count off for it.
Yeah, I've been putting it on the left.
It's normal to write it on the left.
It looks weird when I write it on the
It
left.
does look weird on the right.
Erase.
Erase. All right, question number 11, state if the given functions are inverses of each other. The easiest or the best way to do this is just take one and find the inverse of it. So there's a really complex way that we used to teach how to do this, and it's just not worth it. I would suggest that you take this bottom one and find the inverse of it. Take the one with the nasty root and find the inverse of it. I promise it'll benefit you in the end. Because inevitably, if you do it the other way, something's going to go wrong. I'm not going to tell you what that something is, but it happens every single term. Somebody does it.
So for the bottom one, when we do the parentheses, that's 3.
Well, first of all, I would change this. Oh, I'm going to go up here.
Yeah,
We got to change x and y before we do the parentheses. Whoops, I wrote y. Let's change them. X equals y minus 5. So take f of x out, replace it with y, then switch x and y, and that gives you this right here. I don't know why I wrote it so tiny.
I put the x for y that equals sign and I still wrote the x inside.
I wrote y both times the first time I wrote it. All right, now I can do what Michelle was telling me. Take both sides to the third power. Well, x to the third power is just x to the third. And then I have y minus 5 divided by 4 left on the right side. How on earth do I solve for y on the right side? So y is currently stuck in a fraction. Multiply both sides by 4 to get rid of this fraction. When I multiply the right side by 4, don't make the mistake of multiplying the top terms by 4. 4's just cancel each other out and you're done with the 4's over there. So then we have 4x to the third on the left side equals y minus 5 on the right side. How do I get y by itself?
Add the 5.
Yep. So our inverse was 4x to the third plus 5. Does this exactly match the top one? Yeah, if it exactly matches, are the inverses?
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, on your test, I highly suggest you take the one that has the big radical and find the inverse of it. It is a hit. The reason why is because a lot of students, when they work from this way to this way, when you have that fraction, they write the cube root just on the top. They don't put it on the bottom, and I have to take off points. And that sucks. That makes sense?
Yeah.
So they're not including everything in the radical. And it
And you have
burns.
to, because it's all on.
Yep, because it was all on that one side. Question number 12. What? I'm sorry, what?
Me writing it like that, is that wrong? Do I have to make it longer?
Yes. I don't have mask on. Question number 12, find all the zeros. The easiest way to do this is by factoring. Whoops. Greatest common factor first. So we want to take out the greatest common factor. What is the greatest common factor of these three terms?
There isn't one.
X. Then we're going to take x out of all three terms, which leaves us with x squared minus 7x plus 12. Then I want to factor what's inside those parentheses. So take a moment and factor that to get your two factors. So you should get factors x minus 4, x minus 3, because negative 4 times negative 3 is 12, and those add to give you negative 7.
Okay, so I did -3 and -4.
That's fine. No. You're going to get the same answers. You just have them in a different order. So then to find the zeros, you need to set every single term equal to 0. So we have 3 terms here. The first one's the easiest, x equals 0 is just x equals 0. Then we would have x minus, 4 equals 0, x minus 3 equals 0. To get our 3 answers, 0, positive 4, and positive 3, which is letter C. Questions on this one? All right, question 13, we're asked to find all the zeros, real or complex. That might be a hint that you might have a complex, I don't know, of this function. So there's 4 terms. I would try to factor by grouping. Since there's no greatest common factor, I'd split it in half. So if I split this in half, I would take out an x squared from both of the first terms. So if I take x squared out of the first term, I just have 4x. Don't forget the second term, if I take x squared out of negative x squared, I'm just left with a -1. You always have 2 terms inside that set of parentheses. And then after my split, I see a minus sign, so I know I'm taking out a negative. And then I have 8x plus 2, greatest common factor would be 2. So I'm dividing both of those last 2 terms by -2. So negative 8x divided by -2 is 4x. And positive 2 divided by -2 is -1. If we've done this correctly, then our 2 sets of parentheses should match. So we're going to bring them down, and then we're going to bring the oddballs down, x squared minus 2, the 2 greatest common factors that are sitting out in front. Now we're going to use that zero product property and set both sets of parentheses equal. to 0. So 4x minus 1 equals 0, x squared minus 2 equals 0. Well, the first one's fairly easy. Add 1 and divide by 4, so x equals 1/4. The second one, however, we would add 2 to both sides, and that would give us x squared equals 2. But how do we get rid of that squared? Nope, it's not a difference of squares because 2 is not a perfect square.
Oh, it's not.
So since 2 is not a perfect square, we can't use difference of squares. If it would have been a 4, that would have been perfect. So in this case, we only have like this option available. So we would add 2, and then we would square root both sides. So x equals, remember, since we put in the square root, we have to put the plus or minus in front of it. So x equals plus or minus the square root of 2. We don't have to figure out what that is. Just leave it as plus or minus the square root of 2. So technically there's 3 answers there. Then I have 1/4, positive square root of 2, and negative square root of 2. Question 14, we're going to use this function to answer parts A and B. I'm going to scroll. So for part A, you want to find the zeros. What that means is set the function equal to 0 and factor it. So first thing I noticed, there is a greatest common factor. So first thing I would do is factor out an x. After I factor out the x, I can't factor negative x squared plus 5 any further. So I'm going to have to set both of these terms equal to 0. The first one's easy, x equals 0. Boom, done. The second one, I'm going to go over here. Negative x squared plus 5 equals 0. Well, to get x squared by itself, you can either subtract the 5, or I would add this term because it's negative. So I would add x squared to both sides to get 5 equals x squared, just because it's negative and I want to move it. You could subtract the 5, but then you'd have to divide by the -1, and that would take you 2 steps instead of just 1. And similar to the last problem, if I want to get x by itself, what am I going to have to do? Square root both sides. Keep in mind, since I put in the square roots, we've got to add that plus or minus in there. So x equals plus or minus the square root of 5. There's your other answer. So that's it for part A. So for part B, we're asked to sketch a graph of the function. We already found the zeros. Remember, the zeros are where your graph is going to cross the x-axis. So we know that we're crossing the x-axis at 0. Well, if I was asking you to graph the square root of 5, how on earth would you know what the square root of 5 is unless you found the decimal? So you're going to have to take your calculator, find the square root of 5 to get an approximation of where we're going to put a point on our x-axis. Try again. What is happening?
Let me see what you got. Oh, give me that answer. 4.3. All right, everybody grab their calculators. I want you to hit second and then x
x squared. You want the square root of 5. I think you guys are using the caret key that's taking your previous answer and taking that root. You should get 2.2. You should. And then remember, we had plus or minus the square root of 5, so we want 2.2 and negative 2.2. So these 3 points are going to go on our x-axis. So 0 is the easy one.
So what do I do with this? That's already on here. Yeah.
Oh, I forgot that was on there. Don't worry about it. Or we can do it later if you want. And then we're going to approximate 2.2. So 2.2, just go a little bit past 2, put a dot. And then you're going to do the same thing, negative 2.2, go a little bit past 2, put a dot. Are we okay so far? This is the most important part of your graph. The rest of your graph is just going to be an approximation. So this is a cubic. We started with x cubed. Our graph is going to look something like this. Keep in mind, I'm going to come down through this point. I'm going to turn around, go up through this point, back down through that one. So it's just going to be like, your graph could look different than hers, could look different than hers, look different than Tori's. Yes, Tori.
Okay, where did we get the 2.2?
Right here. Square root of 5.
Okay, that's right.
Yep, so the square root of 5 is what gave us these two numbers, positive and negative,
Okay.
which gave us those 2
Because
points.
it's plus or minus.
Yep, because it's plus or minus. So for our graph, we're going to start up here. We're going to go down, back through, blah, blah, blah. As long as your graph looks something in this general shape that goes through all 3 of those points that you just found in part A, you're getting full credit. I used to make you do the table and get an accurate graph, but it really doesn't matter that much. Tori's like, hallelujah. So as long as your graph has this general shape, you'll be good. It'll be the exact same way on your test. So go down through the first point, up through the second, back down through the third one. I've had students draw. Yeah. So I've had students do the same graph. They'll start here, they'll go whoop, just like that. Still getting all the points. So we used to do that XY table to figure out kind of like, where did this go? Because it also, hold on, let me find another color. Let's do yellow. Hold on, maybe you can see it. I've had students go like this, all the way down, back through this one, all the way up, like that. Still went through those 3 points. I don't care. So that's why the XY table's there. We used to figure out kind of what this looked like because all 3 of those are getting full credit on my test. So down through the first point, up through the second, down through the third. Questions or concerns? So just a general graph, a sketch if you want to say. All right, question 15 is a piecewise function. There is a bonus question like this on the final. Don't look at me like you hate me. It's bonus on the final.
I like the bonus question.
See? Bonus on the final is great. Oh, no, I'm not giving you that final. I'm giving you the Ivy Tech final. I lied.
You got it at least right. You could get it right. And then that could be,
Oh, let's.
gives you 100.
So for this, we have our constraints over here at the right. So for any x value that's less than or equal to -4, we're going to calculate x plus 2. So I'm going to make an xy table. In my xy table, I want any number that's less than or equal to -4. The first number I'm picking is -4. -4 will have a closed circle because it's or equal to. And then any number I pick that's less than -4, I could do -5, -6. All I have to do to figure out my y values is take x plus 2. And the first one, -4 plus 2, is -2. then I would take -5 plus 2 to get -3. -6 plus 2 to get -4. So that's going to give me 3 ordered pairs. So -4, -2, -5, -3, and -6, -4. Which way will my arrow go when I draw this in? To the left or to the right? Which way is this pointing? To the left. My arrow must go to the left. So this is my starting point. It's going to go this direction forever and ever. Are we okay with the first half? Yes, no, maybe so.
Only if the graph said.
I think the one on your test is. Hold on, let me look. Yes. So I reprinted these. The graphs are superb on your test. Superb. I printed them all from my computer instead of making a copy. Like I made yours. Like the pre-test. We're gonna repeat this exact same process with the bottom part, yes. So this bottom part, my constraint is x must be greater than -4, and then I'm going to use -3x minus 7. So xy, I'm going to start with -4, but when I graph -4, will it be open or closed? Open, because it doesn't equal it. So it's going to have an open circle at -4, and then I can use any number that's greater than -4. So let's do, what do you want to do? -3, -2. I was going to use 0
And 1.
because they would be easy. Well, 1 won't fit on your graph though. All right, so plug in -4. If I plug in -4, again, I'm using this bottom equation now. So -3 times -4 minus 7. Well, -3 times -4 is positive 12. 12 minus 7 is positive 5. So I know I'm going to have an open circle at the ordered pair -4, 5. Then I'm going to keep going. If I plug in -3, -3 times -3 is positive 9. 9 minus 7 is 2. So that gives me the ordered pair -3, 2. And then if I plug in -2, I would have -3 times -2 minus 7. So 6 minus 7 is -1. So -2, -1. I've got 3 points. I have enough to draw my line. Which way will my arrow head? To the left or to the right? To the right. So again, if I look back up here, if I make this an arrow, it's heading to the right. So I'm going to draw myself, maybe. Start here, and I'm just going down like that. And that's it. So really, we had to plot 3 points. Make sure on your test you're using an open and a closed circle. You will more than likely have one of each. Actually, I'll just look, and then I'll tell you. You do. You have one of each. The actual equations are really similar. They just use 3s instead of 4s, and the numbers have slightly changed. You'll be fine. Are we okay with this? Sammy, are you okay with this because you missed it yesterday? Okay, good, great. I'm sure Michelle told you all about it yesterday when she got home from math class.
No, I didn't.
I know. Oh, also from yesterday. Question 16, we're going to describe the transformations from the parent function f of x equals the absolute value of x, represented by g of x, this equation down here. So you're gonna tell me the two shifts that are being made by these two numbers. The number hanging out at the end is always the easiest because it keeps the sign. Does the number out at the end move you to the left and right or up and down? Who remembers?
That one is.
It's negative, so it's gonna move you down.
And that'd be on the left side, wouldn't it? It's negative.
Yes. Wait, what are you talking about? The negative one's gonna move you down one, it's not gonna move you left. The number out at the end either moves you up or down, however many units it's listed. So since it's a minus,
Down 1, up 4.
this one's gonna tell you left or right. Remember, since it's inside with the X, it's gonna go opposite. So think -4 would move you to the left. It's opposite on the inside. So the inside with the X, is gonna go the opposite direction of the sign. So if I think +4, I normally think to the right 4, but since it's on the inside, it's gonna go left 4. So the one on the inside is going opposite. We just think like to get the real X value, if I set this equal to 0, it would be -4. So I'm gonna have to move left. The number out at the end is always moving you up or down. If it's positive, it goes up. If it's negative, it goes down. That one's kind of the easier one. Number out at the end goes up or down. That gives you an answer, letter D.
It's the absolute value of X plus 4. That's why.
So my original X value, I would have to subtract 4 from it to get back to where I wanted to start because it's being added to 4. The next one, we're going to first list the transformations. I promise you, you want to list the transformations out to the side on this question on your test. Because inevitably, I have somebody who doesn't write anything, does the whole graph wrong, like flips it upside down, something crazy, and I can't even give you partial credit. If you take the time to tell me what these two numbers are doing, and I can at least give you partial credit if you completely beautiful on the graph. So tell me, what do those two numbers do? So we have two numbers here. Which one does what?
We're going down
Down how many?
2
Yep, we're going down 2
and right 3.
and right 3. So that took us a whole 2 seconds to write down. And then on your actual test, you'll be given this exact same graph. If you look, there are 5 exact points, all 5 of these. You don't want to pick this point right here because it's not an exact intersection, and to move it would be kind of challenging. So pick those 5 points. So 0, 0, 1, 1, and 2, 4, -1, 1, -2, +4, those 5 points. We're going to take each one of those 5 points, we're going to pick it up, move it down 2, right 3. So if I pick this point right here on the left, I go down 1, 2, I'm going to go right 1, 2, 3, and right there is where it's going to be. Down 2, right. Oh, let's do it. So that point down 2, right 3 ends up right here. Then we're going to go to the next one. We're going to go down 1, 2, right 1, 2, 3, and it's going to end up right here. So this point down 1, 2, right 3 ends up right there. We're going to keep doing that with all 5 points. So take the bottom one, go down 2, right 3. So I just took this, the vertex, that bottom point, down 2, right 3 to get this one here. Then I'm going to take this point, down 2, right 3 ends up right there. And then don't forget this last one up here, down 2, right 3 is going to end up on the very edge of your graph, right here. keep in mind, you're just picking up this graph and moving it. It should look like the exact same shape and size as the original. We're not changing it, we're just moving it. Then all I need to do, play connect the dots.
If we do all this, we get the full credit.
Yes, full credit. I mean, technically, you don't have to write this to get full credit if you do this correctly, but this is always a fail-safe. That you don't goof and move some of them this way, and then some of them you forget to do the negative. So write down what you're doing and then do it. Down to write 3 mistakes. Are we okay with this one? Question 18, if y varies directly as x and y equals 21 when x equals 12, find y when x equals 8. I'm gonna pair these two numbers together and make a fraction. If you do y divided by x in the first fraction, you have to do y divided by x in the second fraction. If you do x divided by y, you do x divided by y in the second fraction. Doesn't matter which way you write it as long as you're consistent. So I'm going to do y divided by x just because I was given y first. Again, it doesn't matter. So y divided by x, that first pair was 21 for y, 12 for x. So when I write my second fraction, I'm finding y. Y must go on top, so I'm writing y on top, and 8 on bottom.
And are we cross multiply?
You betcha. So we're going to multiply these together and multiply these together. So multiply 12 times y is 12y. 8 times 21 is 168. Y equals 14 is the correct answer. Questions on this one?
We just did what you did and Skipper.
Oh, I didn't show that I divided by 12.
Yeah.
That's
Are we allowed to do that?
Yes. All right, move to the back side. Last 2 questions are similar to the one we just did, except they're word problems. Pick the 2 numbers that go together. So first one, we're talking about somebody traveling. They traveled 250 miles and used 10 gallons of fuel. So if I make a fraction out of that, I would do 250 divided by 10. Keep in mind, this is gallons, this is miles. So when I write my second fraction, I have to write miles on the top, gallons on the bottom. Well, which one of those 2 numbers do we know? The miles. So we know they're wanting to travel 400 miles and they're trying to figure out X number of gallons.
Can I just leave it as G?
You could just leave it as G, that's fine. And then you're going to cross multiply. So I'm going to multiply 250 times X or 250 times G. And then I'm going to cross multiply 400 times 10 to get 4,000. Then I'm going to divide by 250 to get my answer of 16 gallons. Questions on this one? All right. Question 20, the cost C of materials for a Deck varies jointly with the width and the length. That's really just telling you need to combine the width and the length when you make your fraction. So for the first set of information we were given, the cost was $424.80. And then I want to combine the length and the width. You can either write it as 18 times 10 or just go ahead and multiply 18 times 10 to get 180 for that bottom. Doesn't matter. Equals, keep in mind, cost must stay on the top of the fraction, so I'm just going to put a C for cost. And then for the denominator, I'm going to have to take 7 times 22. So when I cross multiply, let's see, 18 times 10 times C, well, 18 times 10 is 180, 180 times C is 180C. For the other diagonal, I'm going to take 424.80 times 7 times 22 to get this ginormous number, not really, 65,419.20. Divide both sides by 180 to get the cost is approximately $363.44. And again, it's money, so go ahead and slap a $sign on it, round it to 2 decimal places, and you are golden.